Countries that embraced industrialization early, like Britain and Germany, became economic powerhouses while maintaining social stability through gradual adaptation. Countries that resisted industrial change or failed to manage the transition effectively experienced decades of economic stagnation and political instability. The difference often came down to timing and proactive policy responses rather than the underlying technological capabilities or natural resources. The Nordic countries provide a more recent example of successful adaptation to economic transformation. Norway and Alaska built sovereign wealth funds that distribute oil revenues to citizens, creating ownership-based income streams that supplement traditional employment. These programs succeeded because they were established during periods of economic growth rather than crisis, allowing for careful design and gradual implementation. The early timing gave these programs decades to mature and prove their effectiveness before facing major economic stress tests. This window of opportunity won't stay open indefinitely, because economic and political conditions will become less favorable for systemic change as automation accelerates. Right now, unemployment remains relatively low, giving communities time and resources to experiment with new economic models. Political institutions remain stable enough to support complex policy innovations. Financial markets continue functioning normally, providing capital for infrastructure investments and cooperative ownership programs. These favorable conditions create space for the gradual voluntary adoption of ownership-based economic systems. But that window is closing faster than most policymakers recognize. Each wave of automation eliminates more jobs and creates more economic stress. Political polarization increases as different groups compete for shrinking economic opportunities. Financial instability grows as traditional business models face disruption from AI systems. Social tensions rise as inequality increases between those who own automated systems and those who depend on disappearing jobs. These deteriorating conditions make comprehensive economic reform much more difficult to achieve through democratic processes. What makes this transformation the most important economic shift in human history is its scope and speed compared to previous changes. The agricultural revolution took thousands of years to spread globally. The Industrial Revolution unfolded over centuries. The Information Revolution happened over decades. The Automation Revolution is compressing similar economic transformation into years. We are essentially trying to redesign the fundamental basis of economic participation, while the old system continues operating and millions of people depend on it for survival. The challenge isn't just technological or economic. It's about preserving democratic institutions and social cohesion during a transition that could easily spiral into political chaos. If handled poorly, authoritarian movements thrive during periods of economic disruption, when people lose faith in existing institutions and democratic processes. The rise of extremist politics in recent years already reflects economic anxiety about automation and globalization. Massive unemployment could push democratic societies toward authoritarian solutions that promise stability through centralized control rather than distributed ownership and local democracy. You have the opportunity right now to engage with these ideas and push for ownership-based solutions in your own community before crisis conditions make change more difficult. This week, consider taking one concrete step. Explore local ownership pilots in your area. Contact county officials about infrastructure funds, or ask your bank about investment options that build property income. Support political candidates who understand the automation challenge and propose comprehensive economic reforms. Join or create cooperative ownership initiatives in your community. The actions you take today will determine whether your community thrives during the automation transition or struggles with unemployment and economic displacement. This isn't about predicting an inevitable future. It's about recognizing that we're creating systems with incredible productive potential, while simultaneously undermining the very foundations that allow people to benefit from that progress. The solution requires rebuilding our economic foundation from the ground up. Here's the paradox we're facing. We're building incredible machines that can produce everything we need, but we're destroying the very system that lets people afford what those machines create. Remember that 60% of aggregate demand comes from wages, but automation eliminates those wages while expecting people to keep buying products. This isn't some unavoidable disaster heading our way, it's a design challenge that requires fresh thinking about ownership and how we share wealth. The question isn't whether automation will transform our economy. That's already happening. Will you secure property stakes before wages vanish? How will you participate in building the ownership-based economy that comes next?